Good morning. I'm showing you, if you're watching this video, I'm just showing you about something that is a bit of a theme of my podcast and this video, which is unfinished jobs. If you're listening to this podcast rather than watching it, what I was showing there was over the summer, the road that I walk on every morning has been done up to a certain point. And it stops randomly and unfinished, where we have lovely painted lines, a nice surface, and then for absolute no reason stops, and we have a fairly broken road. There doesn't seem to be any logic to why it stops, or why the roadwork stopped, or why the resurfacing stopped. And the only thing I can think about is it seems to be a good symbol for our education system, because that's all I know. I don't know why people stop doing their roadworks or resurfacing roads and stop at a random point without finishing the road. But I do know in education that when we have a problem, we seem to resurface over some of it, and everything looks okay for a while. But it's all cracked and broken really very quickly. That seems like a good introduction to day one of the 2026-2027 school year. I'm Simon Lewis, and I'm out walking my dog wearing my hiviz and talking about education. And you're very welcome to season 2, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to make it season 2 of the podcast. And if you like what you're hearing, you can subscribe to it on your favourite podcasting platforms, or you can watch it on YouTube as well, though I don't know why anyone would want to watch me walking up the street with a badly angled camera pointing at my face while I walk, as one commenter commented on one of the videos. It's always nice to know that my appearance offended him so much. It offends me every day. You don't have to have this one. Anyway, let's get on with education. Happy New Year to all of you going back to school today. I think most schools have either started this week, or if you're very lucky to have an extra couple of days in bed, you can gloat away while we have to get the shoulder to the wheel and get back to school. That symbol of my road, has made me thinking a little bit about special education, and that is the theme of the unconvention. And one of the questions, and it was a question that came out this week, was about rebuilding the trust that we have in the NCSE. And it's a question I asked yesterday, is what can we do to rebuild the trust in the NCSE? Because I don't think it's controversial to say that trust in it is quite low, and that might be even underestimating how and understating how low it might be. The NCSE, I suppose, started off in a very different situation 20 years ago, where it created systems for the needs that existed at the time. And the needs that existed at the time 20 years ago were very, very different to the needs that exist today. And yet they follow more or less the same formula, and it's just been tweaked about over the years without making any changes to it. For example, autism classes were designed in the first place to be a little sort of a transition class for children who couldn't quite cope with full-time mainstream, but would easily manage to transition to a mainstream setting within 2 years. That was the expectation. And these days there are children who spend their entire time full-time in autism classes. That wasn't their original purpose, and this is why we have all these massive waiting lists. We have and we have almost these segregated classes within teaching. The NCSE never changed their policy on it. The government never changed the policy. The NCSE also, speaking of the government, and it says it on their website, we're an independent advisory group to the Department of Education. It seems fairly obvious these days, and I don't think anyone is denying this, that they're essentially told what to do by the Department of Education, and they do their bidding and then get the blame. We saw that in the SNA debacle, where when the NCSA did their job, which was to allocate SNA resources every year, and they had to give some bad news, the Department of Education decided that they had no idea of it, and they've reversed their decision, and they were just essentially implementing Department of Education policy. The NCSE, I suppose, has gone through so many things, and there's too many to go through in a very short walk, and too much of it for me to remember off the top of my head. And I'm not going to go on, because I think you might have an NCSE story. What's changed in the last 20 years since the NCSE was set up? The responsibilities of CNOs has changed. It became very, very powerful for a while, and then has become, they basically lost all of their power. They now essentially push paper around, whereas before they had decision-making capabilities where they decided the allocation of SNAs on an individual basis before all the algorithms took over. What else has changed for you? I as I said, I'm thinking of them on the fly as I walk up this road. And what happened that they lost the trust of not only the education system, but of parents and everybody else? The latest debacle being the parent notify situation, where in the middle of July, when schools were closed, they informed everyone that all the paperwork for notifying the NCSE for special classes for next year would need to be ready by September, and they gave a deadline of September the 1st to send in forms, and 2 weeks later for paperwork to follow, which is a ridiculous thing to do given the waiting lists. And the NCSE themselves, it seems the interesting thing is the CNOs had no idea this was happening. They found out this information when the public found out this information. Effectively a shambolic disaster. So what are we going to do about all of this? Is there a way we can build trust in the NCSE? If you come onto my social media channels on shaw.net, you'll find the question of rebuilding trust. So far, early days on it, we have two answers. One was we can't because it's a total mess. It needs to be scrapped and restarted. And the other, defending them without giving any examples, which is they do great work. But, I think, honestly, for me, the answer is somewhere. And the job of the Young Convention is to find those answers, find those recommendations. This is the second time we are talking about special education. The first time we really landed on the idea of SNAs and where we are on that. I really am interested as well in other aspects of special education, and the NCSE are certainly a bugbear of mine. They have caused me and many others a great deal of sleepless nights with their decision making, and then I also feel sorry for them because their decision making isn't their own decision making. So it's a bit of a good difficulty. I just think we need to look at it. They can't be working off the same plans and the same ideas of 20 years ago, because things have moved on so much. So what do we need to do to rebuild their trust? That is my question for a first day of term. What a heavy first day thing. Maybe I should have talked about, look after your well-being. Just look after your well-being. Well, not here. Let's strip apart the NCSE and see what we would do to rebuild its trust. Anyway, other than that, have a fantastic first day back if it is your first day back. It's mine. Look, I hope you have a great year, and let's keep talking. The only way to solve our education system, the only way to solve our burnout, is to actually do something about it. We can't just sit there and take it. We need to ask those questions and we need to act. And while the people who are supposed to be representing us aren't, I think we have to take it on ourselves. You know, that's another change we have to do. Because look, 10 minutes here, and I start around here. Maybe I'll rant tomorrow about some of those things. All right, have a great day. Take care. Talk to you tomorrow.